This is KSUT Public Radio. Regional news is next. Next spring, you might want to watch out for a late season cold snap. It's not just bad for gardens, it's bad for bears. A new study shows those frosts are driving more black bears into backyards. And the Mountain West News Bureau's Caleb Radel has more.
Researchers at the University of Nevada, Reno studied more than 500 black bears in the Sierra Nevada mountains over 2 decades. They found late-season frost can wipe out berries, acorns, and pine nuts, the foods bears rely on in spring. When that food disappears, bears start roaming into towns and neighborhoods, looking for something to eat. Heather Reich is a co-author of the study.
We're getting a lot of human-bear conflicts increasing everywhere, and this is just one more trigger of that conflict.
In 1 year alone, the number of bear complaints in the study area jumped to about 1,500, 3 times higher than average. Reich says tracking these patterns can help wildlife managers know when to warn the public and give hungry bears a little grace. After all, she says most aren't problem bears. They're just trying to get by when nature comes up short. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Caleb Radel.
Some officials across our region continue to sound the alarm on employee cuts at federal lands. The latest comes from a Democratic senator and former U.S. Forest Service leader in Colorado who fear outdoor recreation economies will be harmed and the risk for wildfires will go up. For the Mountain West News Bureau, here's Tegan Windland with the report.
Senator John Hickenlooper says the ongoing government shutdown and the Trump administration's firings and buyouts have gutted 25% of staff that manage public lands. The Department of Interior lost 7,500 employees nationally, and the U.S. Forest Service has lost 5,000. Scott Fitzwilliams is the former White River National Forest supervisor. He says the loss of staff is impacting firefighting efforts at his former park.
Every biologist except one was gone on the forest. And so those are the people that prepare fuels mitigation plans, prescribe fire plans. Fires don't burn in just Democrat districts, they burn everywhere.
He says public lands benefit everyone and fears more cuts are coming. Tegan Wendland, CPR News.
In a related story, the government shutdown is continuing. At its core is the Affordable Care Act and disagreement in Congress over whether to extend subsidies for millions of Americans. For the Rocky Mountain Community Radio Coalition, KOTO's Mason Osgood brings us this feature story.
Colorado Senator Michael Bennet shared on a press call that this is now the second longest shutdown in U.S. history, at a time when Americans are just 10 days away from open enrollment for health insurance.
This begins on November 1st, and my office is hearing every day from Coloradans who have received notices from their insurance providers that they're about their increased premiums, and they're terrified about how to pay for health insurance next year. Across Colorado, the backdrop for all this is that working families are already struggling with an affordability crisis.
Bennett says this comes during a time when the median home price in Colorado is $640,000, and childcare is some of the most expensive in the country, costing a family on average $22,000 a year. The shutdown isn't helping increasing impacts from funding cuts on a local level. Chuck Porth is the CEO of the Uncompahgre Medical Clinic in Norwood and says funding is difficult.
This year, my grant funds have been cut 9% simply because the funds aren't there. In behavioral health, my Medicaid reimbursement just recently got cut 60%, 11% in medical.
Senator Bennett included a $100,000 request from UNC in this year's congressionally directed spending requests to continue to provide low-cost and free transportation for local patients to access care. Porth adds,
we're in a situation where it's become obvious to us that a lot of the folks that were traditional payers of one form or fashion have run out of money, and that's rolling downhill, and we're all absorbing it. And no, I don't have a game plan for how we're going to get through all this.
Bennett adds that Senate members are speaking every day to figure out solutions to ending the shutdown and figuring out how to ensure access to health care.
This is how broken the system is. It is ridiculous that we are spending twice as much on healthcare as any industrialized country in the world, and yet families all over the western slope of Colorado, for instance, or in northern Colorado, cannot find access to primary care, cannot find access to mental health care, cannot find access to prescriptions that they are prescribed, including our seniors, prescribed by doctors in America. That is ridiculous. And that is the system that we have today. And that's a system that we should be fighting for.
Bennett says the sooner the better to end the government shutdown.
This is a moment where we have said we're not going to support the president's budget unless he addresses an issue of bipartisan concern to the American people, an issue where 80% of the American people are in agreement that in our broken healthcare system, the least we could do is extend those tax credits.
While the shutdown hinges on subsidies for healthcare, the effects are widespread, with thousands of furloughed government employees, food assistance programs running short of funding, and public lands agencies left without essential staff in national parks.
That report from Mason Osgood comes to us from the Rocky Mountain Community Radio Coalition, a network of public media stations in Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico, including KSUT. A woman from Castle Rock has been convicted of voter fraud for trying to vote her late ex-husband's ballot. For the Colorado Capital News Alliance, here's Benta Birkeland with the story.
The woman cast a legitimate ballot for herself in the 2022 election, but a jury found she also fraudulently filled out and returned a ballot for her son and for her ex-husband, who is deceased. The Douglas County District Attorney's Office said the woman could be sentenced to 3 years incarceration or get probation. Voter fraud cases in Colorado are rare, and the Douglas County clerk praised the verdict, saying it shows that the layers of security built into the state's election process are working.
That was Benta Birkeland reporting for the Colorado Capital News Alliance. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also called SNAP or food stamps, will be paused if the federal government shutdown continues past November 1st. The Colorado Capital News Alliance's Lucas Brady Woods reports that would impact more than 500,000 Coloradans.
There are more than 600,000 SNAP recipients in Colorado. Half of them are kids, and none of them will get their November benefits if the shutdown lasts into next month. At a meeting with Congressman Joe Neguse this week, already overstretched local food pantries said the demand for food assistance will fall on them. Nate Breckert runs Coal Creek Meals on Wheels.
We're pulling from a bucket that's already empty. And so I think it's going to be really interesting and scary to think about how to meet people where they are, because they're going to be in a really tough place.
Neguse says he's working with state and local leaders on temporary solutions. Like many of his Democratic colleagues, he blames Republicans for causing the shutdown.
That was Lucas Brady Woods reporting for the Colorado Capital News Alliance. And we've got one more report from the CCNA to wrap up this regional news segment. NBA coach Chauncey Billups has been arrested in a federal sports gambling investigation. The FBI announced yesterday it has arrested dozens of people in connection with illegal sports betting and rigged poker games organized by the mafia. Law enforcement says victims were invited to poker games with Billups and others, where the decks were stacked against them. Billups is a Denver native who played for George Washington High School and the University of Colorado before joining the NBA. He played for the Nuggets from 2008 through 2011. Support for local and regional news on KSUT Public Radio is provided by the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority.
Support for public policy reporting comes from the Gay and Lesbian Fund for Colorado, promoting programs designed to ensure all Coloradans have the same opportunity to thrive. More information is online at gayandlesbianfund.org.
This is KUTE Ignacio, KDNG Durango, KUSW Flora Vista, and KPGS Pagosa Springs. We can also be heard in Farmington, Cortez, Mancos, Silverton, and from wherever you're at, you can stream us online at ksut.org.